Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing? It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. So this is going to be a episode 3, and on the episode 3, we'll talk about Silent Hill. Silent Hill was yet another game by Konami in 1999, right after Metal Gear Solid. But usually, this is how I came across Silent Hill. Let me give you my experience, because that's what this whole episodes are all about. It's about me talking about, commentating on my nostalgia about these games and how I came across these games. This is how I came across Silent Hill. This was back in 1998. Again, you know, there was no internet. It was just a dial-up, but you didn't have like internet like you do nowadays. It wasn't advanced as it was today. So the only way you can find out is if you purchase a PlayStation magazine, subscription to a PlayStation magazine, and then on a PlayStation magazine you read about the upcoming games and whatnot. I usually did that. I bought all these magazines, and I was reading through them to see what's available. But on this case, for Silent Hill, the way I find out about the Silent Hill was on the brochure, instruction manual on the Metal Gear Solid. While I was reading the instruction manual on Metal Gear Solid, I flipped back the instruction manual, and right in the back says Silent Hill, coming soon, 1999. And I was like, whoa, this looks interesting. So I started, you know, reading more about it. And then I find out that it's going to be something similar to Resident Evil, but not quite actually like Resident Evil. It's going to have the same style of you walking around and shooting the gun and everything, kind of like Capcom Resident Evil, but something different. So anyway, I was excited about it, so I picked it up, I booted it in, I put it on my PlayStation 1 gray console, closed the disc tray, press play, and I was hooked. I was really hooked. Basically, you are playing a character by the name of Harry Mason, and Harry Mason wakes up in this weird kind of like accident, hallucination dream. He can't like pinpoint exactly what happened. How did he end up in this town? Some very strange town. He was going to go on vacation with his stepdaughter called Rachel, and along the way he ended up in some other realm, some other reality town that it's filled with fog, a very small town filled with fog and some very strange stuff in the town. It's like a ghost town, very creepy with fog, very depressing. One thing that really stood out to me in Silent Hill was the atmosphere and just how creepy that fog was. And just, I played this game at night. I dared myself. I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to play this game at night. Turn my lights off, connect my PlayStation via my Dolby Pro Logic speaker receiver sound that I had. It was just lousy 3 speakers, but pretty good speakers that I had on that receiver. And I turned it on, and I turned the volume all the way up at night while I was playing it, and it freaked the hell out of me. Actually, I played it after 10 o'clock at night till 1, 2 in the morning, and man, it was creepy. It was really creepy. So that's basically what this game it's about. It's about Harry Mason in search for his stepdaughter, adopted stepdaughter. I think it was either a stepdaughter or adopted. I think it was an adopted daughter. I made a mistake. It wasn't a stepdaughter. It was an adopted daughter. That he adopted this child, and he was going to go on vacation with her, take her somewhere, and they ended up in this weird town. So he is in search for his adopted daughter, Rachel. Okay, if my memory holds me correctly, I think that's what it was. So let's go ahead and let's look at the beginning of the game, and I'll talk about it as we go. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's do that, shall we?
Cheryl? Is that Cheryl? Where are you going? Hey, wait! Stop!
You know, the one thing, as you can hear, you know, I purposely turned the volume up so you guys can hear the atmosphere. The one thing that really, back then, spooked me out was the atmosphere, the sound. This game was playing on a couple of elements, the atmosphere and the sound. And the sound and the atmosphere in this game, it was really, really creepy. You have to remember, this was back in 1999. We haven't seen anything like this before. So now this is where he goes into this town, and then he ends up in this like a diner or a coffee shop or something. Then he meets with this police officer, a sheriff of the town. It's right here. As you can see just how creepy that is, and it really creeped me out. Even now, even to this day, after all these years, after 20 years, I look at this game and it still kind of creeps me out. Just that whole atmosphere and the sound of this game. It was something that we didn't have before in a game that I can recall. Sure, Resident Evil was scary too, to some level, to some degree, but this was like on a whole new level. Scary. This is where he wakes up and he can't figure out where he's at. And then he talks to this police officer, which is going to be coming up shortly.
Was I dreaming?
How do you feel?
Oh, like I've been run over by a truck. But I'm all right, I guess.
Glad to hear it. You from around here? Why don't you tell me what happened?
Wait a second, I'm just a tourist. I came here for a vacation. I just got here. I don't know what happened. I'd like to find out myself.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen a little girl? Just turned 7 last month. Short, black hair. My daughter.
Sorry. The only person I've seen in this town is you.
Where is everybody?
I'd tell you if I knew, believe me. But from what I can tell, something bizarre's going on. That's all I know. What's your name?
Harry. Harry Mason.
Cybil Bennett. I'm a police officer from Brams, the next town over. The phones are all dead, and the radio too. I'm going back to call in some reinforcements. Hold it. Where do you think you're going?
My daughter. I've got to find her.
No way. It's dangerous out there.
In that case, I need to find her now. Cheryl's my little girl. I can't just leave her out there by herself.
Have you got a gun?
No.
Take this, and hope you don't have to use it. Now listen to me. Before you pull the trigger, know who you're shooting. And don't do it unless you have to. And don't go blasting me by mistake. Got it?
Yeah, thanks.
And as you can see, this is Cybil, the police officer. She is a police officer from a different town, but she somehow ended up in this town. It does have the element of Twin Peaks. You guys ever seen Twin Peaks? TV show. It's kind of a little bit of that, but again, it's the atmosphere of this game that was something that we didn't experience before. Remember, this is 1999, and we didn't have these types of mature horror adult types of games. There was few of them on the PC, but not like in the big numbers. This was something that Sony brought into the console gaming, where Sony felt like, you know what, I think it's time that we push into a more adult, mature, digital entertainment kind of gaming industry, and evolve that gaming industry to a different direction. And Silent Hill was another great example of that. For you to purchase the PlayStation and play these games is only on PlayStation, basically. You know, they even made a movie after this game. As a matter of fact, there was a sequel, Silent Hill 2, and I think Silent Hill 2, they pushed the envelope even further with the graphics. You know, all of this was happening fairly quickly. You guys gotta remember, I was playing Metal Gear in 1998, and then in 1999, the following year, I was playing this, and then in 2000, the PlayStation 2 was released, and then in 2001, I was playing Silent Hill 2 and Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. So I was getting treated back to back with a lot of cool games. Not to mention Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil, Director's Cut. There were so many games, man. And this was all original. See, what was so cool about playing games like this back then in 1999, all of these games were original. Like original idea, a new concept that we haven't seen before, you know. Sure, after Resident Evil formula and after Silent Hill formula, a bunch of other games were trying to copy the same thing that successfully Silent Hill and Resident Evil has achieved. I would say Konami and Capcom were like the two leading developer studios that they were just pretty much untouchable. You know, Capcom and Konami, especially Konami, they were just pretty much dominating in terms of... and Square Enix, I would say three. It was Konami, Capcom, and Square Enix with Final Fantasy and Parasite Eve 1 and 2. And I think there was a third one. So, especially with the Final Fantasy, obviously. And they were like the three leading developer studios. And they were all Japanese. You know, Japanese were dominating in gaming industry at that time, you know, in 1980s, 1990s. I think Xbox has changed that a little bit with Bungie and Halo. Then we see more and more American developers. And then later on we see French developers and Polish developers with The Witcher. You know, but it was mainly Japanese that were like dominating in terms of video games. And this game was so creepy. Like when it becomes dark, when the time runs out and it becomes dark, there's this siren and you got to go indoors. If you stay outdoors, you will get killed. It was very creepy. So let's listen to the atmosphere of this game because it's really, really creepy. Another cool thing was the static radio. You know, when you're getting closer, if you hear that static radio becoming louder and louder, it means that you're approaching to these creatures, these whatever you want to call them, interdimensional creatures and whatnot. And that was creepy too. Remember, I was playing this on a Dolby Pro Logic sound on my home theater. Okay, I had JBL speakers. They were pretty big speakers, floor speakers. So this thing was like very, very creepy, especially with the subwoofer too as well. You know what I mean? You can feel the low bass and stuff trembling. Like I said, I was playing this at night after 10 o'clock, and it was super, super creepy, you know. And again, I want you guys to emphasize onto the fact that there was nothing like this before Silent Hill. All we had was Resident Evil, and then this game. Now, sure, there was games on Sega Saturn. There was one game that was on Sega Saturn. I forgot the name of it. It was called letter P or something. Or I don't know. It was something like that. Or It. I'm not sure. I just know that it was about this woman, and she's in this castle, and she needs to find a way to escape the castle. I can't remember the name of the game, but it was on Sega Saturn, you know. I think later on got released on PC as well. You know, you guys maybe can help me out and remember the title of that game. It was on Sega Saturn in '97. I played it, I think. It was very creepy too, but this was like on a whole new level of creepy, you know. And you know, it was just a different type of gameplay, you know, the way you it wasn't one of those games where you click and point You know, because that other game that I was mentioning was click and point. This wasn't like that. This was where you can walk around these 3D areas on the map and go inside the buildings and houses. It was more interactive, 3D rendered game with all of the atmosphere and the camera angles. So right now, for those of you who are watching this, if you are age of 15 or 16, for you, this might be kind of like, you might be laughing at this in terms of graphics, but back then, 20 years ago, this was pretty big deal, especially for a console, And that's what I'm trying to do here on these videos and these episodes that I'm doing. I'm trying to kind of walk you down a memory lane and explain to you why these games were so important back then. What you're witnessing here is the games that actually helped revolutionize and push the envelope of all these other games that were following in the same footsteps, you know. Especially for a console. That's why I keep bringing up Sony, because I think Sony did a hell of a lot more for consoles than what both Nintendo and Sega did. Sure, Nintendo and Sega brought some outstanding games, but they were pretty much playing it safe. You know, it was like Karate Kid. It was like 2D platformers. It wasn't nothing that was like advancing to this type of a level. Okay, this was like advancing to a new, different type of a 3D level and rendering, and even the employees from Digital Foundry would say the same thing. You know, the Sony kind of pushed the boundaries, not just in terms of what's possible on a console, but also they pushed the boundaries in terms of what type of mature adult games are we able to actually play. You know, like the console shouldn't be just, you know, some easy gameplay, arcade-ish type of a gameplay here and there, or fighting gameplay. The console should be about a digital entertainment. And I think Sony set out to go and just show that yes, we can bring consoles to this new digital entertainment level where you're going to have almost like Hollywood type of storytelling and Hollywood type of production quality games. And that's exactly what we saw here with Konami and Capcom, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Metal Gear, even Siphon Hilter and Dino Crisis, you know. But yeah, this whole game is just, it's creepy, you know. You know, someone asked me the other day, do I think they're going to do a remake of Silent Hill or Silent Hill 2? It's possible. I mean, I would love to see a remake of all of these games. I think if they use a brand new engine like Decima engine, imagine Silent Hill 1 and 2 with Decima engine and Dolby Atmos. You're talking about bananas, scared. You're talking about shitting your pants kind of atmosphere and kind of bizarre feeling you're going to get, you know. So, or how about Silent Hill VR? There's another thing, you know, I would like to see. Or Silent Hill VR 2, that'd be great. Yeah. But for its time, back in 1999, this was a very outstanding game from both graphically and audio. And it was something that we haven't seen before. Like I said, what's so unique about all of these games is the fact that they were all original. Like, it was new, fresh ideas. They were all new, fresh ideas, from Resident Evil to Silent Hill to Metal Gear. They were all new IPs and new, fresh ideas. And I think this is where the gaming was at its best, in my opinion. This was like at its core, at its best. Like you were witnessing a historical games being developed here. And they are. I mean, you look 20 years from now, 20 years back and 20 years now, they are a historical games. They even made a movie after this game, you know. And I happen to live through all these games. I played through all of them. And I can tell you firsthand, because I'm 40 years old, that all of these games contributed so much to what we see today. And that was my whole point about doing these videos, is just to remind you that you don't forget how it all started, where it all began, you know. It all began from this to what we see today. Now let's let me turn the volume up and listen to some more of this creepy sound. And as you progress throughout the game, it becomes even more creepier and creepier, you know. And especially at the third act and like at the very end, it becomes like super, super creepy. And that's what I like about this game. It starts slowly, and then gradually it just becomes tighter and tighter and tighter and creepier and creepier and creepier, you know. Silent Hill 2 was good, and you know, we get to learn a little bit more about the Silent Hill history and the town and the rituals and what's been going on. Okay, spoilers warning. But and the possessed, you know, spirits and demonic presence and all of that stuff, we get to learn a little bit more in Silent Hill 2. But the first one is where it really kind of like, you know, it scared the bejesus out of me, man. Interesting thing is, Silent Hill 2, I remember it, but I don't remember the ending, man. For some reason, I can't seem to... I remember the first and second act in the middle, but I don't remember the ending of the Silent Hill 2, and that's something I might have to replay again just to kind of like refresh my memory. Because remember, this is 20 years ago, 21 years. This is a long time ago. Okay, a lot has happened since then. For me to even have a vaguely enough memory to memorize what actually has happened in these games. So if you never played these games, and if you're somebody who is looking to purchase PlayStation 2 on eBay, you don't need to purchase PlayStation 1. If you purchase PlayStation 2, remember, with PlayStation 2, you can play your PlayStation 1 backward compatible games and PlayStation 2 games. So why would you buy PlayStation 1 when you can buy PlayStation 2 and play both PlayStation 1 games and PlayStation 2 games? Okay, the memory cards have the adapter that will work. So purchase yourself a PlayStation 2 console, because with PlayStation 2 console you will be able to play both PlayStation 1 games and PlayStation 2 games all together. Also keep in mind, for its age, for 1999 year 1999, just around the corner of Y2K, the whole thing about the Y2K, this was a pretty good looking game graphically, considering, you know, what PlayStation was capable of doing back then, you know. But people always ask me, why was it that the Silent Hill always felt dark and grayish and murky? Well, that's because that was the idea. The idea was to make it depressing and scary. And look at dynamic light. Look at this dynamic light back then in 1999, and just look how this was groundbreaking back then, guys. I know it might sound funny to you right now, but to me, when I was in my 20s, when this game came out, I was 20, 21. This was pretty groundbreaking stuff, man. Okay? In terms of dynamic light, in terms of sound effects, in terms of 3D, and, you know, the atmosphere in the game, all of this stuff was pretty outstanding. And scary, man. Like, really scary. So let me turn the volume up a little bit for you guys. Shall we? Let's do it. As you can hear, just like how creepy the atmosphere, especially with that music, the synthesizers with the highs and lows, all of this was very creepy in 1999 when it was released, you know. But even to this day, I look back at this as I was just watching and listening, it still is creepy. And I think this is exactly why Silent Hill needs to be remaked. There needs to be a remake of Silent Hill with Decima engine, with Dolby Atmos, 4K and HDR, and I think we could have. I don't understand why Konami is not doing this. I mean, I really don't understand this company. Like, what happened to this company? It's not bad enough that they got rid of Kojima, which was a stupid, dumb decision, but they also what they have right now, they just what? Pro Evolution Soccer, and Pro Evolution Soccer is all right, you know, but that's it. You know, I just don't understand this company. Like, what happened to this company? With all these great games that they made, including Castlevania, including Metal Gear, including Silent Hill. Like, what happened, you know? I don't know. Go figure. I'm just simply saying all of these games should be at least remastered or remaked. They should be remade and from the ground up, and if possible, get the same developers of the original game if they're interested. I think it would be cool. I know everybody would love to see a game like this be remaked and remade and brought to the new generation consoles in a glorious 4K and HDR and Dolby Atmos surround. Imagine this with Dolby Atmos surround sound and 4K and HDR. Imagine just how cool this would look, you know, with the Decima engine or whatever engine they use. Just how cool, even Fox engine, just how good, but I would say Decima engine, just how creepy this would look to have the new revision remake of Silent Hill. They should remake it, there's no question about that. Same thing goes for the Silent Hill 2. I would love to see a remake of Silent Hill 2 as well. And I remember also clearly going into the this school and the auditorium and the hallways of the school with the locker rooms, and only you can see that flashlight right in front of you for maybe a couple of feet. Was pretty freaky, you know. Remember, I played this on like what was it, 32-inch screen? That's all I had. I think it was 32-inch RCA screen. Like 2-3 feet away from me, with my Dolby surround sound Pro Logic receiver and JBL speakers with a subwoofer. I played this at night with the lights off, and the experience was really creepy, like super creepy, like a poop kind of creepy, you know. Well, you just heard how creepy that was. Now imagine me playing this middle of the night with the lights off on a 32-inch screen with that kind of a sound where it gets even more creepier and creepier depending on how far you advance or which level you're at. This was another thing that, like I said, we haven't experienced this on this type of a level. It was a psychological kind of a game because your brain is depicting this weird music and there's these weird sounds, and then it can psychologically have an impact on you. And that was something that, I didn't remember any other console or any other developer make till the Silent Hill. And to me, Silent Hill is it's still considered one of the creepiest games. Now the movie was all right. The movie kind of let's face it. The movie kind of it sucked. It wasn't that good. This is why you should never make a movie based on a video game. There's a reason why these video games live only on a video game universe. And that's because that's where they were meant to be. And that's where they were meant to be experienced, was on a video game universe. But on Silent Hill 2, they amped up the sound even more. Like the sound, they were using some S-Force or something. Very unique three-dimensional sound that made it look even more that made it sound even more creepier. That on PlayStation 2, I remember playing it. It was twice as creepy as what it sounds here, But this is just the beginning of the game. When you go to the second act, the third act, and then, oh my God, the last finishing act of the game gets even more and more creepier, Especially in 1999, 20 years ago, this was just super creepy. And still is. Even if I play this at night today with a surround sound, it's still going to creep me out. Let's say I put this on my projector and then I have my surround sound on. I'm still going to be creeped out by this game. Like, for example, did you hear that sound of that girl crying? Like, some of these things, they would happen unexpectedly, and you would not expect these things to happen. They would just all of a sudden, you would hear some weird noises, some weird sounds coming from out of nowhere. At one point, I swear to God, you almost have like a panic attack, almost like a heart attack, because you would get, totally surprised by some of these unexpected sounds. You could be just checking something out, looking around, in one place, and then boom, some weird ass sound would pop and turns out with some weird echoing, screaming, agony, screaming kind of a sound. And it was just so scary, man. Like really creepy and scary. I think there's nothing more psychologically scarier than you hearing something, but you can't see it. But you know it's around there somewhere, but you don't know what it is. But it sounds very intimidating, and it sounds very creepy and dangerous. Now, that psychological sounds that really messes with your brain. And I think the best way for me to summarize Silent Hill would be a psychological horror, survival, mystery type of a game, you know. Let's look at that hand. You see that hand? It was just right there. All of this was really creepy, man. You know, I mean, I'm not doing it justice here, just like talking about this game. I wish that I had a time machine where I can go back 20 years, and then you guys can come with me 20 years back in 1999, September of 1999. I think it was September of 99 or October, probably September. And then play this game. You talk about super creepiness. This was like super, super, super creepy. So yeah, man, I mean, it's like all of a sudden you would walk into another room and then you would hear a different type of a sound. And sometimes you would be saving a game and looking at something, exploring the chair or whatnot, and then all of a sudden some weird-ass sound would show up out of nowhere. These are just some of the elements that were introduced into this game. And I think what they were trying to do, they were trying psychologically with the sound and atmosphere, they were trying to creep you out. Some people, I remember a couple of my friends, they couldn't finish the game. It was like, the hell with this game. It's too scary. It is too, some people, they get scared very easily and they have panic attacks. They can't catch a breath. So you don't want someone having a goddamn asthma or a heart attack, So, if you have a weak heart and fainted heart, then this is not for you, obviously. You got to know your limits. You got to know what you can handle and what you can't handle. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not being a coward. You're just being honest. Like, if you're afraid of something, just say it. Hey, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. There's nothing wrong with that. The worst thing you can do is pretend that you're not afraid, but you deep down, you are afraid, and you're going to freak out. That's the worst. And also, if you stop and look at this game and you look at some of the posters, you can actually see some of the developers of the game. The creator of the game, what's his name? Toyoma, something like that. Toyoma something. I think last name was Toyoma. The creator of this game, I think. My memory is not holding me good, man. As you all know, I'm an old geezer now, so I can't remember everything. But I think it was Toyoma something. Kirishi, Toyoma, something like that. I know you guys will correct me on the comment section anyway. Especially if you're a hardcore, Silent Hill fan. I apologize. But I think it's Toyoma. Kirishichi, Toyoma, something like that. So I don't know if there's anything else I can say about the Silent Hill. It's been about 52, 53 minutes. The game does get interesting when you get to the second act and third act, especially the last fourth act in the game. It's very, very creepy. They do answer some questions, but not entirely everything. You're not going to find out exactly what happened, how your adopted daughter is possessed, and what exactly happened to her, and what's her, and what exactly happened to her, and the history behind her being possessed and all this other stuff. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you like this video. Like I said, I'm going to try to do more of these. If you guys have any recommendation, please do let me know. I think I covered everything here on this 53 1-hour video. Like I said, the way I find out about the Silent Hill was on the back of the instruction manual on Metal Gear Solid. And I saw the advertisement that says Silent Hill. And I'm like, what the heck is Silent Hill? And then I start buying the PlayStation magazines and learn more about the Silent Hill. And of course, I bought it. I pre-ordered it. Went to the electronic boutique, got it, played it. It was great. These were the good times, man. Being a gamer back then in late 90s, like 1996, 1997, 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. Those were like the great times to be a gamer. Right now, everything's different. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the way today gaming industry is. I don't like the fact that you have to be online, that you have to pay online service just so they can recognize that you bought the game. I'm not a fan of season passes and DLCs and microtransactions. I'm not a fan of any of these things. Okay, I'm a fan of, let me just play the game. Okay, why do I have to be online to be connected to a servers just to play a game? Let me just play a game. Let me just play it. I'm old school. That's what I'm all about. There you go. Again, there's a bunch of clues and stuff here in this game. this game does have puzzles, and you have to hit the correct keynote here in order for you to unlock this. And I don't know if there's anything else I can say about Silent Hill. I think if you guys truly want to experience this game, I would suggest that you either... Here's the deal. I know there's emulators out there. You can get an emulator, but I urge you to purchase a PlayStation 2 console and experience this game the way it should be experienced. Okay? Play it at night if you dare. Okay? And then experience it the way it should be experienced. Okay? But other than that, yeah. It was, even to this day, I mean, I was just watching some of the stuff for a little bit, and you guys heard the sound. It's still creepy. Even after 20 years, this game, it's still holding up. It's still creepy. All right, so I'll catch you guys on the episode 4. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. Okay? So we're going to do episode 4. I'm not going to tell you exactly what game I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on. I'm looking at a few other games out there that I'm going to be talking about. But remember, the whole idea of these videos is for me to walk you down the memory lane and talk about some of these games from the past and why they were so significant back then, and why, even to this day, I consider these games to be all-time classics, Well, there you go. I'll see you guys in the episode 4. Take care, and thank you for the support. Thank you for subscribing. There will be some television R617 custom picture setting videos coming soon as well. As far as live streams, I'm going to try to do live streams on July 6th, okay? And I have some other projects. I have some other videos I'm working on. So I'll keep you guys posted, I don't like to tease you too much. I just like to tell you that keep an eye on my community forums, and I'll let you know. You will see. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the episode 4. Take care.